Welcome everybody. This is Gaming on the Move. So we're here today at MoveCon Consensus. I want to give a thanks to the teams at Consensus, Super Oracles and MoveCon for organizing today's talk. We've got 40 minutes of fun with a great panel of teams spread across both the Sui and Aptos blockchains. We've all been working with Move. So I'm looking forward to digging in, learning more about some of the things that people here are working on. So today I'm going to introduce people by order of how they're written down on paper. So you have myself, I'm moderating, I'm Jacob, I'm the CEO of Clutchy Marketplace on Sui. We're a gaming and NFT marketplace. We've been building since August of last year. We have Meg McWilliams, who's the COO and co-founder of projects Eluüne and Arrivant. Meg, do you want to come and just introduce yourself very quickly?
Yeah, happy to see a lot of friendly faces here as well. So yeah, Project Eluüne is a game that we are creating. Our game developer company name is Arrivant. So I'm co-founder and COO. Our team is made up of game industry veterans. It's one of the really awesome things about the team we brought together is that we have a lot of really great Web3 talent, but also a lot of very traditional game industry people on the team. We reunited 4 of the original co-founders that shipped the first Call of Duty for console and have other awesome talent from Epic, EA, Kabam, and a lot of other studios. The first title we're launching is Project Eluüne Star Garden. It's a team-based creature battler built on Unreal Engine 5, so the graphics are insanely beautiful. Players basically form tribes of up to 40, build their village, and compete with other Star Gardens.
Great, thanks. And I can confirm that the footage is very beautiful. Andy, you want to come on next?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. I'm leading product and operations for OriginByte. In the past, I ran a mobile gaming studio for several years and then grew an indie game publishing platform to over 400 game studios. I've been at big retail and e-commerce companies and payments. But most recently, rode the Solana wave for a minute at Metapixel Studios. But excited to be here and part of this. So thanks for having me.
Great, thanks. And Leon?
Hey guys, so I'm Leon. I am also a co-founder over at OneNet Games, which is a video game development studio. Our team has pretty heavy background in AAA studios as well as some smaller studios, but has some experience working on titles like Diablo 4 or at the Coalition. So we have a really heavy background in game development. Right now we're building Bushi, which is a third-person competitive shooter that's also built in Unreal Engine 5. We've been building this game for about 3 years, so it's been a really, really long time coming. For any game fanatics out there, think about like an Overwatch, Valorant, and a Fortnite kind of like type game, and you mash it together, and then you have Bushi, kind of. So yeah, that's pretty much who we are and what we're building.
Great, thanks. Chad?
Yeah, thank you, of course, for having me here at this conference. My name is Chad. I'm the co-founder of Starspace, which is an NFT marketplace on Aptos, and our focus is really around unlocking new potential with your digital assets with a focus on NFTfi. And so that's where we're really focused and incredibly excited about the offerings I think that both Aptos and Sui bring to the table when it comes to gaming. And that is myself.
Great, thank you. So we'll move on to Cubic, who one of the 2 people on the panel I've never met. At least I don't think so.
Hi, yeah, thanks for having us. Yeah, actually just got connected we were in Hong Kong for the demo day, so we won second place in the Builders Hong Kong, which is really cool. So yeah, Cubic, what we're doing is basically building infrastructure and a tool set on Sui. We already have some on-chain games that we're building on the testnet and then that are fully on-chain, and then we're also building Sui Game SDK and supporting basically user growth for other games and connecting to Steam, connecting to Web2 gamers, basically trying to, with goals of onboarding millions into Web3 gaming. So yeah, we're super excited to be here and connect with everyone else that's building games.
Onboarding millions is a mission that I like.
Yeah,
So Jokes, we missed each other at the Hong Kong Builder House as well. I was around, and I think I saw you guys present, but I don't think we got a chance to introduce ourselves.
Yeah, I don't think so. Strangely, there's a lot of people there, but yeah, nice to talk to you here.
Yeah, I was rushing out on demo day as well. And Joseph, from Metapixel, the other person I have not yet met in real life. How's it going?
Hi. Yeah, really good to be here. And hi, my name is Joseph, business director for Metapixel. And first of all, thanks to all of the organizers of this wonderful event, and really great to be here as a panel speaker. And Metapixel is a Web3 initiative of MPixel, which is one of the largest gaming development companies in Korea, known as Ground 7 and Chrono Odyssey IP. And we aim to be the Web3 home for gamers, so currently working hard not only to build and bring quality games, but also to bring the mass adoption to Web3 by showing some enhanced user experience and actual benefit for the gamers with our partner Aptos. So in Metapixel, we are building some games like Ground Cycle Limited, Pixelcraft, and so on. As we've experienced some Web2 gaming before, we are trying to do what we had done really good at before, and trying to boost some new user experience which can be enabled from the Web3 technology. And really happy to be here. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, it's good to connect. So to get us started, maybe we can start with Chad. One question that I'm interested in asking is about how you ended up having conviction on the ecosystems in which you're building. And specifically, I'm curious about the language, right? So the language of Move, or the subset of Move that you may be using. What were the main reasons that attracted you, and how big a role did Move as a language play?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it was really last summer, my team and I, or just really at the time, we weren't even a team yet. We were really just sort of good friends and colleagues of other protocols on Solana and others, started to look at, I think, a number of different ecosystems. And had heard a little bit about Aptos and Sui, started to really take a look at, of course, the underlying language of Move and how that could, of course, compared to everything else that had currently been built previously, and felt that there was definitely something interesting there. And so from there, decided to do a few experiments. One of those experiments was building a flash loan product in about 50 lines of code or so. And in comparison to something on Rust or on Solidity, that would take you, for the most part, maybe over 1,000, if not thousands of lines of code. And I think just one of those experiences, I think, showed us that it wasn't just sort of hype. It wasn't just, something we had seen on Twitter, that, these ecosystems and the language were really next level. It was something that we actually tested, ourselves. And so from there, I think we decided to look at a number of different things that we felt confident in really potentially building. And what we felt most confident in was the NFT side of things, of course, on the NFT marketplace side of things. And so from there, really started to build in the Move ecosystems. And it's been really a blast. I think sort of time to test, to ship, to everything has been, dramatically reduced. And so I think what that sort of brings to the table for people that are building any products in the Move ecosystem is, I think 10x cheaper, 10x quicker, and I think potentially 10x more fun. And so I think that we've had really a blast building in these ecosystems, building with other builders, helping other builders. And so I think that was ultimately what drove us to even think about taking next steps and building in these ecosystems.
When it comes to working with the languages, your team, they find it to be as they expected. Did they have a preconception in mind, and did it live up to that?
Yeah, I think there was definitely a preconceived notion of how these languages perform and be, but I think it was much better when we actually started to use the language, test it out, experiment. I think it's one thing to I think really hear on Twitter, and another thing to actually get your sort of hands dirty. And it's been, I think, a miles difference doing that, and we've had a great time with it.
Great. Yeah, us too. Andy, so you spent a bit of time, as you mentioned, with Metaplex over on Solana, which is obviously a Rust-based ecosystem. Now coming over onto OriginByte, over onto Sui, which I guess is, loosely speaking, a similar type of approach from a company direction. How have you found it working with Move, and did it play a big part in attracting you over to the ecosystem?
Yeah, definitely. I think I mean, we all know, Move is modules and objects, right? And I think there is this great heritage from Solidity, Rust, Anchor, but Move is just, it's really clean and logical. And I think the things it brings are like, what I was just saying, right? Speed, both of coding and what you can do on the network. Safety, right? There's no account check code required. And there is on Solana. And that could be a lot, like almost half your code, right? And then there's just like the creativity and flexibility. Like at OriginByte, we talk a lot about creative unlock. And I think Move allows us to give developers those creative unlocks. Like the tools are there. If you can dream it up, you can finally do it. You don't have to hack. You don't have to do all these backbends. You can actually accomplish, I think, the kind of the overall goal, right? Which is to onboard the next generation of Web3 users when they don't have to care about the tech, right? They just care about what it does for them. I think that, to me, the creative unlocks are what's so important, because if the creativity is there around economics, around what you can do, the users will come. Not all the users care how it works. They just want to know that it works, that it's something interesting.
Great. And I'm curious there from a gaming perspective as well, from the people who are building the games themselves, right? So we've heard from the marketplace perspective, we've heard from the infrastructure perspective. So briefly over to Leon, I'd be very curious in understanding what it was that attracted you to come and build over on Sui, beyond just Anthony Palmer and the gaming team over at Miston.
Miston Labs for sure is a huge portion of it, but for us, so predominantly we were a Web 2 focused development studio. That's where we came from, and that's kind of where I guess the game was heading towards, until we found the beauty of NFTs, and where I personally kind of just fell in love with the idea of why an NFT makes the most sense use case wise in a video game. Back then I was super not into NFTs, profile pictures, whatever. But then when you kind of take a step back and you see that like asset ownership, NFTs in general can be a really cool thing for video games, that's what we kind of started implementing into our game Bushi. And then we also have like this ideology that we think that the most successful video games out there, Web3 or not, will just feel like a video game, and not like, you're separating the two between Web3 or Web2. And so what kind of brought us over to looking at Sui, or the Move language in general, was just like the seamlessness of being able to communicate from your standalone project or standalone video game in Unreal or Unity, and just be able to communicate to an NFT directly without having to interface with anything that deals with like crypto or Web3. So for example, a battle pass is a huge one, where if you just update the battle pass after every single match, it accrues that quote unquote value for the user without it having to feel like Web3 in general. And so it was super easy to implement that in Sui, whereas other chains, it was a little bit more difficult. There were like blockers. Yeah, there were just blockers. And then here at Sui specifically, there were so many builders that were already building this infrastructure that we can easily just like work with, but really just take their technology and then make our project even better. That was probably one of the biggest things, is just the NFTs, having them so dynamic and so easy to use in a video game. It just made sense for us with the direction that we were going, which was NFTs and Web3.
Yeah, we care a lot about that reason as well. And I know some other people on the panel do too, around how easy it is, that lower barrier to entry, right, for creating these more dynamic assets. Okay, so we got lots of good reasons there, right? Speed, ease of building, cheaper, easier to be creative, safety. I think lots of very good reasons for people to want to come and build. So I'm sure there are people listening that are considering they're going to be convinced. I'm curious now to move on to the next question around onboarding new users onto blockchains, right? So I think there's been lots said about gaming being the next wave to onboard millions, tens of millions, maybe even hundreds of millions of users to blockchains over the next few years. I'm curious to hear what people think needs to happen in order to make that a reality. So I'm wondering if we can draw on Cubic first for this question.
Yeah, sure. So everybody has that goal and dream with gaming because gaming, obviously, we know has such a huge user base of people playing games. The one thing that traditional Web2 games have seen, I mean, the Web3 games haven't really seen yet, is how fun the games have. There was a lot of focus moving over from DeFi into blockchain gaming, where it was play to earn models, other reasons to play games to incentivize making money. That's not going to make the big move into Web3 gaming. The games have to be fun to play, where you're attracting users for the game without kind of more seamlessly, without them even realizing they're getting into blockchain gaming. So I've seen some ideas and concepts that we're also integrating where you start off playing a game that you don't even know that it's a Web3 game. If you're playing a Web2 game, and imagine like Fortnite suddenly introduced that they're going to kind of educate you and you're migrating your assets to blockchain to protect your assets, to actually own your assets. I think we can use this sort of way to onboard more and more Web2 gamers where they are just playing games that are fun and they don't have to know this is like blockchain NFT game. And we're starting to use language differently as well, calling things instead of NFTs, call them digital collectibles, digital assets, and really removing this barrier of education and language and making them feel like they're entering into NFTs, to have it really more subtle in a gateway where education becomes gamified within the gaming system, moving assets on chain maybe later. There's a lot of possibilities, and also connecting to Web2 accounts. So that's one thing we're doing, like connecting Steam to Steam accounts, finding how to basically funnel users into new games without them knowing necessarily that they have to learn about blockchain or learn about wallets or other things from the beginning. So yeah, I think language and accessibility, fun games are really the education are the key.
Great. And Joseph, have you got anything to share in addition to that from the game perspective itself?
Yeah, I definitely agree with the point from the Quebec team as well. So we definitely need some project which is really fun to play, since actual users doesn't really care what the actual technology the gaming company is using. They just feel comfortable when there are really good product and when there are really like smooth gaming experience. But even though there is a cutting edge technology on the market, there should be some actual usage of the blockchain for the adoption. And I personally believe this will be boosted with the entertainment, which is gaming for myself. But as we already experienced a similar phenomenon on the mobile gaming market, I do believe that one single excellent use case can really open up the adoption of Web3. So I'm not really convincing everyone that games in the future should be fully on-chain, but for the technical side, there were some limitations on previous technologies to fully develop and deploy their games on-chain. I think the major problems was the throughput. If we are trying to release some RPG game, for example, with the millions of gamers, for example, MapleStory or Lost are fully on-chain, where tons of actions like trading, farming, encountering, or fighting in a battle, the current block time of the most L1s would make the game impossible to play competitively. So I think this was the reason why there were only a few subsets of games that can be executed properly, fully on-chain. And that might be the reason why there were really limited use cases of the Web3 game as something like a play to earn, and maybe convincing them to get some gaming asset first and make some money. So, and another problem that we need to overcome might be the scalability. So if the game mechanics and game design is more complicated, then more transaction would also be required inside a game. And this may be the most important two factors in terms of technological improvement. We need to see the actual really good games on the market. But also, in the meanwhile, I think there are lots of blockers currently on the regulatory and infrastructure aspect as well. So since the blockchain game is not really quite properly defined as a game in many countries, it is actually hard to get a proper ratings or license to operate a blockchain game as a legit business. So to operate a legit business as a big gaming company, there are just a few countries supporting the clear regulation related to Web3. So that might be the other problems for the participants, like a big gaming companies, to jump into the Web3. More important when the scale of the business is bigger. And also, these were the steps that Metapixel has been working on for more than a year, but still it's tough but worth challenging. So I think it won't be a blast transition from Web 2 to Web 3, but we are looking into various new use cases with more trials to push this boundary with many good projects as well. So really looking forward to see the upcoming adoption of Web 3 using the quality games and good products in the market.
Thanks. Would you say that of all of those reasons that you've discussed there, would you say any of them are like the key fundamental reason why it's difficult to onboard users? Like if you had to pinpoint one, would you have one?
Actually, I think another, like when we were trying to pinpoint one, I think people were distinguishing the Web3 and Web2 before, because since there were Web3 games, most of the people were saying that, hey, this is Web3 and you need to learn about the blockchain and you need to understand what the mnemonic is and what the wallet is. But this is not really the actual gamer doesn't really want to think of, because they want to experience a good game first. And if they can really get the benefit from the Web3 technology, what I think they cater most is just the like really good gaming narratives and some of the experience which the game can deliver. So I think the approach of this kind of like action, when we combine the actual blockchain technology and games, might be really important thing for other like products to onboard the millions of gamers into the Web3 spaces.
Right, I was gonna take this question to Meg to see if she agrees, but I think she's having connection issues. She keeps dropping.
I can
she's
hear.
here.
Yeah. I turned off my camera because it keeps rugging. So hopefully this will save me.
Okay, are you in a situation where you know the question, or do you want me to repeat?
Repeat question, please.
Sure, no worries. So we're talking about barriers to onboarding millions or tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of users.
Yeah.
Like, what do you see as the big barriers? What do you think needs to change and what needs to happen in order for you to be able to bring more into the space?
Yeah, so I'm not sure what everyone said before me, so I might be repeating. But I think first and foremost, just having actual fun games that are not just financial instruments pretending to be games is like a big first move that will onboard tons of new players, right? Just having it be a fun game that brings value to people, that also abstracts the blockchain technology into the background and isn't a friction point for players to get involved in the game first and foremost. And then I think just on a branding level and linguistic level, like not using words that scare gamers, right? Like not saying connect your wallet. Who wants to do that? No one's like, oh, that makes me uncomfortable. So just using language that they're used to, abstract.
Uh-oh.
And a way that we'll be able to on the new people, and like everyone on the call, right, I think is working towards that, which is awesome now. But yeah, that's kind of my take. And hopefully you heard what I said, but I'm not sure.
I wanted to also say, I think that on the gaming side, gaming has of course been, I think, trending in the sort of free to play way for a good amount of time, right? And that goes to, I think, just a lot of different services that many Gen Z millennials of course use today. Is we want to use stuff online totally for free. I think the problem, of course, with that is the CAC, or the cost to acquire a new user with free to play, is really over $100 for someone that's a real sort of power user. And so I think that sort of model is just incredibly difficult to really use, attract, retain, etc. I think that, game developers have a lot of, just like any other builder, have a lot of hurdles. And I think that building a great game is an incredibly difficult thing to do, and really commend, I think, a lot of the, of course, great people in this room, as well as anyone else building that's listening.
Yeah, I agree with that one. I think that's a barrier that people often overlook, but actually, because in blockchain, there's so many challenges just in blockchain in general, right? As we've discussed, that some of the blockchain games aren't very fun, that the terms can be confusing, that it's difficult to bring certain parts of the game on chain, regulation, but cost of entry, I think, is also definitely valid. So I wanted to pivot a little bit and talk about the value of bringing games on chain. This is a question I get asked all the time. Why would you bring a game onto a blockchain? What's the point? Leon, do you want to shoot?
Yeah. So I guess to just start specifically, I'm decently skeptical about games being fully on chain. And that is because, well, one, the technical barriers that Joseph mentioned earlier. It's just difficult to put a game fully on chain. Security is a huge problem, right? And then one other thing is that, does it really make sense, right? So this kind of piggybacks off of the last question, where if gamers or if we want to onboard like the next generation of Web3 gamers, does it really matter whether a game is on chain or not to these users? Right now, to me, in my brain, which I could be completely crazy, but I don't think it matters. There are real benefits to putting a game on chain, which is like you can do changes to the game via like governance, and you can do that all through contracts. You can make sure that no one takes away or takes down the game in general, like minor things like that. But I do think specifically for right now, there are a lot more problems about putting a game fully on chain than there is benefits. Now, in the future, do I think that the technology will keep up or catch up or even exceed the ability to, put a large scale game on chain? Yeah, I'm really bullish on that. And I guess the big benefits of it is that having it on chain, no one can really mess with all your stuff, which is kind of like the motto that we've all been kind of spewing out for the last couple years for Web3 gaming. So yeah, I think that's probably the biggest benefit right now. I do think though that I would love to see, I guess, reasons as to why it would make sense to put a game fully on chain. Right now, I think I know a couple of reasons for like smaller scale games, but large scale games kind of still confused a little bit about it, but I'm always open to learning.
I guess a follow-on question to that would be, okay, maybe there's quite a debate to be had as to whether or not you want to put the full game on chain. But what about you with Bushi? What parts did you want to bring on chain? And why did you guys decide to bring things on chain?
So the only parts that are on chain are the things worth of value to a user. So things like your profile or your account, your skins, your battle passes, levels that you put into the game. And it kind of works in the way where, like, for example, our battle pass, you put in the time to level it up. No one should be able to take away those levels away from you in any scenario. So that's one of the main things that we put on chain. So things worth the value. Now, things like computing whether or not the person moved forward or moved backward or jumped or did a left and right, that stuff to me is, it doesn't necessarily need to be on chain, but I guess if somebody really wanted to record all that stuff, then it would be valuable on chain, because then nobody can mess with it. Even like a centralized entity can't really mess with it. So there's a benefit there. But for Bushi, it's really just things worth the value, things that really make sense. So like tokens, levels, things that you put time into.
Yeah, Andy, what are you seeing from the OriginByte perspective here? I know you guys work with games.
Yeah, I think, the thing for me is that games almost are always like pushing technology, right? I mean, it's like they drive advancements in computers and TVs and phones, and find me someone who hasn't played Candy Crush or Minecraft or even Solitaire, right? Like they didn't know that Candy Crush was using packet data in the background on your mobile phone to send images, right? They didn't care, but you get exposed to new technologies quite often through games. And I think that the part that a lot of like traditional studios, game studios are struggling with, like coming to blockchain, is they think they're protecting their ecosystem by not coming on chain. And in fact, what they would do is expand the ecosystem. So people are already outside of your world, CSGO, on some foreign website, swapping skins and guns and whatever, right? And doing shady transactions that you might get rugged, just like Meg did with a camera, or even worse than stuff that happens in the NFT world and crypto land, so, but by bringing that in and actually making it a part of the sanctioned ecosystem, going, here's all the stuff, it's on chain, it's visible, it's safe, you can trade it, you can just loan it, you can rent it, stake it, like whatever term you want to use for it, you can, to Chad's point, utilize that as a game studio as part of your incentive. If I loan my item to Leon, he uses it and plays with me, we both get new items. Guess what? I just introduced a new user at a much lower cost. I'm going to probably increase the chance that he is retained because he played it with a friend, right? And so that was all on chain, all very affordable and all very native to the process. And so again, you go back to creative unlocks. The reason why you want to think about the blockchain is what can it unlock for your studio, not like what does it present as a barrier. And I like the way Leon phrased it, is that you still got to be smart about it. It's still going to be a while before many of the blockchain technologies are as fast and cost efficient as other existing tech, right? So why would you do something that's super hard and expensive and slow if you could still do it somewhere else? Like, yeah, you run a business, but long term, right? Like, it's like, how do you expand your ecosystem to say all the places that my fans exist and want to be a part of my content and my story or my game or whatever I'm building are good, and I can celebrate those because they're all part of one big world, not like, oh, there's the world I play Counter-Strike, then there's a world I go trade and swap items over here, and it's super hard and complicated and whatever. So that's where I see like the blockchain really adding value, and I'm hopeful, I'm optimistic that game studios, that even big brands, others will see like those opportunities, not just a quick dollar turn, like one more way we can make $1 off of a fan. How do we bring fans into a bigger ecosystem that we get to stay a part of? I think that's why I'm excited, like largely about Move and Sui, is that it makes it easier and like to do that stuff where before you'd have to burn all kinds of, tokens to get to a new token. You don't have to do that anymore. So it reduces some of that churn and overhead.
Yeah, I agree. It's exciting. So I think we've got 3 minutes left. So I'm going to give everybody 30 seconds to share any interesting information, any alpha, any leaving points for the audience. So Andy, as we've just had you want to go next? You can talk about OriginByte, you can talk about gaming, Sui, Aptos, whatever you like.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just be real since I just spoke. I'm excited, like for our platform, we're going to have more partner tools baked into our SDKs, just trying to create, again, a simple place for game studios to come and build from, more tooling, more options. I think the one I'm most excited about as a former game dev myself is the audience growth tools. Kind of just touched on that, but this idea that you can leverage the things you're building within your game as also the things that get people in to play the game and stay. And I know, what Leon's doing kind of with the battle pass idea and some of the ways that they're going to promote that. And I think Meg's and similar stuff, like they're already like pushing into that, and it's just the beginning. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm excited about what, OriginByte can bring to the space. And, we're going to partner with everybody. There's room for all of us. We got tons of room to grow, right? And like should all be partnering, working together. So let's get it.
Agreed. Cubic?
I almost forgot to unmute. Yeah, so we're really excited about, of course, launching Cubic on mainnet. New partnerships, collaborations coming up. We got this SBT token is live now, so you can get your SBT token, and more NFTs basically dropping soon for accessories like wine boxes for your soulbound token. And then enhancing our platform. Our team's working super fast, building a lot. So there's a lot coming up. And I know this is we don't have much time, but just follow us on Twitter and you can figure out more what we got going on. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Joseph.
Yeah, really happy to have some conversation here. And since we've conducted our first playtest within our community, we became more confident with the actual game because we've experienced the gamers' feedback related to actual game quality. And now we are currently working hard to prepare and deliver our second playtest, which will be operated for 2 weeks starting from July. And this may be the first blockchain integrated version, so we are pretty excited to share our conceptual approach using the blockchain technology as a new feature inside the game. And also we're preparing a unique NFT collection combined to Metapixel ecosystem, which is Catcha. And this will be also announced and go live soon with some unique fun features using the Aptos and Move languages. So since we are building a Web3 home for gamers as our main motto, we will keep working on providing some quality games and actual enhanced user experience dedicated to the gamers. So I'm asking everyone to keep an eye on for our website, metapixel.io, and Medium in our community. Thank you.
Great, thanks. So I think I'm going to get in trouble for continuing, but I want to give everybody a chance. So Leon, Chad, and Meg. Leon first. You got 10 seconds.
Cool. 10 seconds. Okay, so yeah, Bushi is ready to launch pretty soon. So just look out for alpha when servers go live. It's going to be really cool. The game is very esports focused. So we've designed the entire game to be esports competitive. All our networking optimization has been heavy work for us, but it's going to be really cool. Tournaments coming out. And then, of course, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but Battle Pass drop at some point. So follow our Twitter, twitter.com/playbushi.
Looking forward to it, Chad.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been a great panel. I think a little bit about us. Hit DevNet a couple weeks ago. We'll be hitting testnet soon, and really going to mainnet, I think, over the next 4 to 8 weeks. And look out for that. So I'm excited. Thank you for this.
Very succinct. I like it. Meg, wrap it up. If you're back.
All right. Well, I've loved this panel, what I could hear of it, and maybe what people could hear that I said. We have the free Mama Mint coming up next month in collaboration with Clutchy. So we'll be one of the first games to mint on Sui. And we also have a community playtest coming up next week. So follow Project Eluüne on Twitter for more info there.
Great, thanks. Super exciting. Really looking forward to it. Everybody on the panel is part of the team that's building some super interesting stuff. So thanks everybody for coming along. Sorry we overran by a few minutes, and looking forward to seeing you all again soon. Handing over to John.
Thanks, everyone.